like,
I don't know what you
like I have six, I'm sorry, I have six different retirements.
mean. Okay.
So do I just kind of evenly, three of them go to him, three go to him, just try to get it as even? All right.
Just to let everybody know, we're going to do one quick probate and then get to yours. So,
Judge, if you could me and Miss Cross go into a breakout room just so we can maybe discuss and kind of narrow the issues?
sure. There.
Up here, if you had it on gallery, I mean speaker,
Okay.
where whoever's speaking is gonna be this right there. And so you want gallery.
So then the two attorneys are
They're in the breakout room.
Hey, Katie, I just want you to know I'm stressed too. I know this is hard. I know this is hard for you. It's hard for me. I just want to let you know we're going to get through it, okay? So
Judge, we did some talking, and if you could put me and my client in a breakout room, I think Ms. Cross is going to come back in, and then she's going to need to go in a breakout room with her client briefly, and we've narrowed some of the issues down, I think. So you're muted, Judge.
All right, so we're gonna try to get people in individual breakout rooms. So yeah, put Mr. Anderson and Mr. Vanzant in a room.
They're in room one and the others are in room two.
We may need to wait till Miss,
She's in there already. She got moved over.
oh, okay.
So John just needs to get back into room one. But you may want to tell him that.
Yes, Mr. Anderson, if you want to, did you get the invitation to go back? There you go.
I was gonna say, because he looked like he also was frozen for a second. But they're both in their respective rooms.
Did you get your list of places to see or your itinerary kind of?
We got our tickets already for, I think, the center, for the 9/11 museum.
Are you going to the musical?
Yes, we're going to see Come From Afar. That's what started this.
Come from away.
Come From Away. So that's
Far,
what,
far away, far.
that's what started this whole trek was, he had recommended me, and the only where to go see it was New York. I'm almost to go anyway, so that's what
Right.
started us planning the trip.
Who's going?
Me, my mom, my sister-in-law, and a coworker here from the sheriff's office,
cool.
Jennifer.
Oh, girls trip.
And I know I've asked you this before. So out of the four of you, how many have been to New York?
Me and my mom.
Okay, so 2 people will be totally new. That would be great.
Yes. So we're excited.
I've only gone once, but my friends live in New Jersey. And so then we rode the subway and I was like freaking giddy, like, oh my God, it's a subway. And then they had a friend with them and he's looking at me like I'm a freaking nut. It's the subway. I just thought it was so.
My mom too, like that's how we were the first time we
Yeah.
went. It was fun and everything until one night we were riding the subway and this guy puked and every time the subway took off, the puke would come out.
Oh, God, that's disgusting.
Yeah, when things like that happen. I get off at the next stop, let that train go and then get on the next one.
You know how they always say New Yorkers are rude? I found New York people to be nice. Now New Jersey people are rude. They're really rude.
So the days that we're there, when we fly in, the high is 67 and the low is 51 in sunshine.
So that's perfect.
Friday, 67, low 51, 56.
Sunny the whole
Saturday,
time.
what's that?
Sunny the whole
Mhm. Now Saturday shows chance of rain and Sunday. No showers in the later day. It's only 30% chance. Sunday, we're leaving early Sunday, so I'm not really worried about it. But yeah, the lows have been, the high's been like 72 to 75. But the day we fly in, it's gonna be 67 and stuff like that.
What time is your flight out Sunday?
Like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, just make sure that you've made like reserved. Are you close enough that you can take the subway back to the airport or how are you going to get from your hotel to the airport?
We'll probably do a taxi.
Yeah, you may just want to get with a hotel and have that arranged, the night before, because, there are times, and I don't know the exact times, but there are times when you can't get a taxi and I was there one time and I'm standing out trying to get, taxis are just going by me,
We're all changing.
another one. And it's like nobody would stop. And I finally asked, what's up? Why will none of these taxis stop? And it said, well, Friday afternoon, they all got places to be or people to pick up or something.
Do they have Uber there, do you think?
They do. They have Uber. I've Ubered before.
You would think that'd be more Uber now that I'm not scared of it.
Do you Uber and use Lyft?
And I know with Uber, you can reserve some ahead of time. So like I said, if your flight's at 8, you think it's at 8?
Yes, I think it's an 8.
Yeah. So, I mean, you really want to be at the airport to like 6:30, you know? And so depending on how, you know, just when you go from the hotel, from the airport to the hotel, when you get there, just make a mental note about how long this is taking.
It's JFK and we're staying in Times Square.
Yeah. And see, I don't know,
Time.
Yes.
but like I said, if it's a 30-minute ride, you probably want to be in your vehicle about 6 o'clock to,
That's what we're thinking. We're thinking try to be downstairs and ready to like catch our taxi. Or one time we got a black car because it was cheaper. We've done black, we've done Uber, we've done taxis.
What's the COVID situation in New York?
It's gotten pretty light now. A couple of like things they require masks, like the Staten Island ferry.
I mean, don't
yeah, the
we-
ferry requires a mask. So the ferry, yeah, you can be outside and the wind can be blowing in your face. Depending on the time of day. Now, that may be kind of a chilly ride to be up on top. You may want to be downstairs where you're kind of covered from the wind a little bit.
So we're excited. I'm excited about a break from the heat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna want to bring the weather back with me.
Yeah, please do.
Just don't bring the cooties back to my boss.
I don't want to bring any food back. I don't want my household getting sick. That's for sure. Oh, yeah, I'm like, count down the days, count down the days.
Yeah. So there's not a subway stop that would get you from the airport to your hotel?
You can do it. We've done it. It's a lot of stairs and a lot of changes.
Well, then,
And
yeah,
the luggage, we've done it once.
yeah, don't you?
It's not really all that fun.
Okay.
There's a lot of changing and a lot of
Yeah.
walking.
Yeah, if you got people there the first time, you just need to go out, get a taxi and be at the hotel and
That's what we figured.
drop off your luggage and then start sightseeing.
Your hotel doesn't have shuttles? To the
None
airport?
of them do.
Really?
Not New York. They don't do shuttles.
Yeah, there's just too many people.
I'd be getting a limo. That's just the way I roll.
Can't imagine it's hard to get around in a limo.
Yeah.
So many dang people in cars.
I need to, do you anticipate any days that you'll be there taking a taxi around the city?
I think it's probably Saturday as well. Maybe we'll see what starts in the square.
Oh my God. So my friend Brenda, she's in Texas. She got cloned or scanned or
Oh,
whatever
shit.
it's wrote. And so she knows I'm having a tough time. And so it's like 4 a.m, so I'm not really awake. And so she said, "Hello, how are you doing?" I said, "I need my friend."
Yeah.
And then I texted a picture of Nina Bell. And then she says, "How is life treating you over there?" I said, "Why would you ask me that?" I already knew at this point. I said, "Why would you ask me that? You know, my sister passed away yesterday."
Yeah.
Yes, I knew that. And sorry for the lost. I can't complain, just taking it a step at a time. And how's everything going on with you? I said, "My sister just died.
Yeah.
I'm doing well at all." And then she says, "Sorry to hear, Karina. I'm doing well. I'm just checking if you're keeping safe and stay healthy." Blah, blah, blah. I said, "I'm not sure if you realize this or not, but I'll let you know a little secret. I know you're not Brenda."
Yeah.
She's my best friend for 20. Anyway, whatever. Thumbs up. Oh my God, I don't think I told you this one. Somebody, I was trying to find it the other day, but another scam thing. And you know how they have where, I don't know if you've ever gotten messaged about, "Hey, did you get your, okay, well,
Yeah, everybody's, just about everybody's back. We'll see.
All right. Your Honor, if I could have just another minute with Mr. Anderson in a breakout room, I think we've made some progress.
We're good.
Karina, are we going to 1?
yes."
Yes. one thing,
Judge, could I go into a breakout room with my client real quick?
look for room 2.
And that's his is Katie, right?
No, his is Mr. Anderson and Mr. Vanzant.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I guess 3 then.
Okay. Look for number 3.
And Mr. Van Zant. And that's Van Zant, 3.
Miss Lozano, which room do I need to go in?
So did you get the invitation for room 3? Yep, you must have.
Let me go ahead and put Katie.
All right, so we have everybody here. What do we need to do?
I think we visited and I think there are some agreements. I believe the issue may be the calculation of child support. And I think that's it.
Judge, calculation of child support, the long distance travel for the child, and whether or not Mr. Vanzant should get a reduction because of that, if he's forced to pay for it. And then there's some credit card debt that my client's been paying that he would like, that they incurred during the marriage, that he would ask the court to have Miss Vanzant reimbursed for half of that, Judge. So that's the only issue.
Okay. And as far as the long distance travel, where would be the place that Emma would be traveling to?
My client's in Georgia.
And you're.
Chris, would you ever fly into Atlanta?
I could fly. I also have 2 other kids in Texas. A lot of times I drive to pick all 3 of them up.
Oh, okay.
And I guess to Mr. Anderson, if he's driving back here, is this something we want to coordinate, that he sees all kids at the same time, or sees certain kids at a certain time and Emma at a different time?
I think you would want to see them all at the same time, Judge.
Okay.
And also, Your Honor, it's our understanding that Mr. Vanzant is pending deployment, that he could go out as early as October 5th. And that the duration of the deployment is going to be, I believe, at least 6 months.
And so is any of the long distance travel going to be are you requesting that Emma be able to travel to the location where he's deployed?
No,
He's
Judge,
going
that's
to
going to be in
Africa.
Africa.
I don't believe that would be a good tour for a child of this age to be in Africa.
But Judge, as the court's well aware, the military, everything changes daily. He may have orders currently, but those all could change tomorrow or this afternoon or before we're done with this hearing. I mean, just because there's orders in place doesn't mean anybody's leaving anywhere.
Right.
And also, Your Honor, as of right now, it's scheduled for December 15th, not October. And like he said, that could change.
All right, well, let's go ahead and call this case, get started. So this is cause number 22L8128, the matter of the marriage of Katie Vanzant and Chris Vanzant. So since we're on Zoom, I'm going to call people's names and just ask you to identify yourself. So for the petitioner, Ms. Cross, if you'd identify yourself.
Yes, sir. Carol Cross, attorney for petitioner.
And then Ms. Vanzant, to state your name.
Katie Vanzant.
And then Mr. Anderson for respondent.
John Anderson for respondent, Chris Vanzant.
And Mr. Vanzant.
This is Chris Vanzant.
All right, so Ms. Cross, do you have any witnesses other than your client?
No, Your Honor, we do not.
And Mr. Anderson, any witnesses other than your client?
Just my client, Judge.
All right, so if I can get both Mr. and Ms. Vanzant to raise their right hands. And do you and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, great. All right, so Ms. Cross, I know you and Mr. Anderson have talked ahead of time. You'd filed a requested relief for temporary orders. Are there some agreement?
I believe there are, and I will recite our understanding of the portion that's agreed, and Mr. Anderson can correct me if I missed something. I believe there's an agreement with the provisions under conservatorship as posed in our requested relief, that the parties be named as temporary joint managing conservators, with my client having the exclusive right to designate the primary residence within Austin County and counties contiguous to Austin County, the exclusive right to receive child support, exclusive right to make invasive medical decisions, psychiatric and psychological decisions, enlistment in the military and marriage and educational decisions. All the other rights and duties would be independent between the parties. I believe the parties have agreed that respondent shall have possession of the minor child at all times as the parties agree, and then failing agreement per a standard possession order. And obviously, given the current circumstances, that would also include over 100-mile provisions. We had asked that the parties have reasonable electronic access to the child during the other parent's periods of possession. Mr. Anderson asked for specifically FaceTime with 8 to 8:30 p.m. in the time zone of the child, and Ms. Vanzant is fine with that. And then my client would have possession of the child at all other times. The temporary orders for property, I believe the parties have agreed that each party will have the temporary use and possession of the motor vehicle in their possession, as well as the personal property. My client would have the 2022 Hyundai Sonata. Respondent would have the 2015 Ford F-150, the 2019 Suzuki. I assume that's a motorcycle. And then the personal property in his possession. Where the parties disagree is the allocation of debt and the calculation of the child support.
All right, so Mr. Anderson, is that your understanding? Is there anything else? And Mr. Anderson, you're muted.
Sorry, Judge.
All right, so was that your agreement as far as what Ms. Cross read? Is there anything else that either is agreed or anything else we need to talk about?
Judge, the agreement was proper. The disagreement is, yes, on the calculation of child support, as well as the, long distance travel and the debts. So.
And I'm sure there'll be some testimony, but just for calculation of child support, how many total children will Mr. Vanzant have that he's paying child support for?
He has 3 total children, Judge, that he's responsible for.
I think that is part of the issue, Your Honor. Although Mr. Vanzant has 2 other biological children, there is no duty of support that has been formalized into any form of order, is my understanding.
Well, I mean, do you understand though, is it your understanding that just when, I'm going to be determining child support, that I'll look at the percentage that will apply for 3 children, or do you say the percentage it'll apply will just be 1 child?
Well, I think the argument could be made that if there is no support going to those children, then instead of the 16% that would be the offset for the 2 other children outside of the court, that it should be the full 20% due to the 1 child who is before the court. I believe the code calculates children for whom there is a duty of support. And it's my understanding, and I may be wrong, Mr. Vanzant can certainly testify if I am incorrect, that Mr. Vanzant is not supporting those other children by agreement of those parties.
Okay.
Judge, that just because on a piece of paper, which I haven't seen anything to show of what Ms. Cross is talking about, but just because he is on a piece of paper, he doesn't owe child support to another party, does not mean he's not supporting that child and have a duty to support that child. So,
And
we would argue that it's based on the 16%.
okay, and if that's the argument, then I can hear testimony about that. Ms. Cross, do you have a number in mind that you consider to be Mr. Vanzant's monthly net?
I do, Your Honor. It would be $7,114.65.
And
Mr. Anderson was kind enough to produce an April leave and earnings statement. It appears he's had no other factors unless he's had a promotion that would change that amount. But that's based on $5,027.40 base pay taking out 737.75 in taxes, adding in the 406.98 BAS, the 2169 BAH. And on this leave and earning statement, he also had family separation, which was 250.
All right, and so Mr. Anderson, what do you show the monthly net to be?
Judge, we took the wage year to date, and we came up with, of 49.69.50 with a net of.
And you're breaking up, Mr. Anderson, so just, just tell me, I guess, what do you show as the monthly net to be for Mr. Vanzant?
$4,098.71, Judge.
Your Honor, this is Chris.
Hold on,
May I-
hold on.
Mr. Anderson will ask you questions when we get to that. Okay, so we have about a $3,000 difference on monthly net, and we'll get some testimony on that. So Ms. Cross, if you want to call your first witness,
Thank you. We'd call Katie Vanzant.
you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Vanzant, would you please state your name?
Katie Banzett.
And you are the petitioner on the case before this court, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You've heard the agreements that we've read into the record and you agree to the terms as stated, correct?
Yeah.
And your husband has been contacting your daughter, Emma, pretty much on a daily basis by telephone?
When it can, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Sometimes his work gets in the way. Is that a yes?
Yes,
Thank you. And you understand that your husband is in Georgia and is not able to exercise the possession that I'm sure that both he and the child would like to see happen. But you understand that the standard possession schedule will be the schedule when he is able to do so.
yes,
Okay. Your husband, I believe, has asked for an offset for travel that he may or may not be able to use for his visits. Do you agree or disagree with that?
disagree.
Okay. Is that something that you would like the judge to take into consideration?
I
Go ahead.
just said, I don't know.
But is that something you'd like the judge to decide then?
Yes,
Okay, all right. Since the pendency of this case, your husband has been sending support to you and Emma, is that correct?
yes.
How much has your husband been sending?
$600 around the first of the month, each month.
Okay, and
January.
okay, and sometimes it's later than that, sometimes it's,
Objection, leading.
Objection's overruled.
so you have no problem giving him credit for the support that's been paid to date, correct?
Correct.
All right. You've heard the calculation to the court regarding the child support and the numbers for his base pay and other entitlements. Are those consistent with the information that you've had as his spouse?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
And the research that you've done, is that also consistent with these amounts?
Objection, leading, Judge.
Yeah, objection sustained. Will Ms. Vanzant be able to just give testimony as far as income?
I believe that she sought information and obtained answers to her questions about that prior to retaining me.
Okay, well, if Ms. Vanzant, if you know something, you can sure testify to it. And if you don't know, you just have to say you don't know. You may proceed, Ms. Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Regarding the two other children that your husband has, what is your understanding of the status of that relationship?
Objection, speculation, Judge, about her understanding of another relationship with Mr. Vanzant. And
We can we can get that through Mr. Vanzant. Let me just for my notes here. So Miss Vanzant, what are the names of the two other children?
Kendall and Carmen.
Okay, and where does Kendall live? What state?
They both live in Texas.
All right, so Ms. Cross, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since you've been married to Chris, has Mr. Vanzant paid child support for those children?
No, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness. I'm sorry, let me go back if I may, I apologize. Regarding the division of the debts, your husband has asked that you assume some responsibility for credit card debt that has been incurred. Do you agree or disagree with paying the credit card debt? I'm sorry?
I disagree to
Okay.
pay.
And why is it that you disagree with paying what's been represented to be a $2,400 Best Buy account, a $4,000 Capital One account, and other debts as well?
Because he wanted those. He just needed my income to get a higher amount. Those were his purchases.
All right. And so do you have any information as to any of the purchases on any of those credit cards that would constitute that total?
I believe he would have the statements. I don't have access to it.
So you don't know, were any of the items on those credit cards items that were purchased for the benefit of yourself or Emma?
I mean, washer, dryer, but I mean, not personally, I guess.
Okay. And are you also paying credit cards?
Yes, I have my own.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Judge. Ma'am, when did you and Mr. Vanzant split?
Meaning
When did you move out?
October last year.
Okay. So y'all separated around November 2021?
Yes, sir.
So since November of 2021, you don't know what he's been doing to contribute to these other two children, do you?
No.
All right. And you said that there was a washer and dryer purchased on these credit cards by you guys,
Yes.
but you can't recall anything else, right? Is that your testimony?
Yeah, to my knowledge, I mean, I'm sure there was other stuff, but I don't know.
Okay. So it's fair to say the cards were used for everybody's benefit, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Yeah, well, she can objection overruled. She can testify if she knows.
Yes.
All right. And so any credit card purchases after November 21, that would not be for your benefit, correct?
For me or him?
For you.
I don't know.
Okay. Did he buy something and send it to you after November of 21?
No.
Okay. So then on these credit cards, if it's all from previous to November of 21, that would be the amount of time when y'all were together, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm not trying to trick you, I promise. I'm just trying to get a line. Okay. And he's been paying you $600 a month, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he takes care of the insurance, correct?
Yes. Military.
Okay. All right. I passed the witness. Thank you.
Ms. Cross?
Katie, have you seen any of the credit card statements that your husband is asking you to assume responsibility for?
No,
All right. So when you were asked by Mr. Anderson if you know what's been purchased or if it's been purchased prior to the date of separation, do you have any personal knowledge of that?
no,
No further questions of this witness.
Mr. Anderson?
Katie, you knew about these credit cards when y'all applied for them, correct?
yes.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Ms.
Nothing
Cross?
further, nothing further, this witness.
And so Ms. Vanzant, a few things so that I can keep my notes up here. Where is the washer and dryer that were purchased on the credit cards?
I have them with me in storage.
And now are they paid off, or is that something that there's still a monthly debt?
That I don't know. I would assume paid off, but I'm not sure.
And do you have any, apparently you don't have any interest if they're in storage, but do you want that washer and dryer?
I mean, yes, he said I could have it for, yes, sir.
Okay. And now you said you have your own credit cards. Who's that with? Is it, Chase, American Express? What?
I just have a Maurice's clothing store credit card. That's it.
And can you use that if you're buying, gas or groceries or anything like that?
Sure. It's just for clothes for my daughter and I.
Okay. And so do you use a credit card for anything else? Any other purchases, meals, gas?
No, sir.
And is this credit card that's in dispute, who's that with? And do you know if it's Chase, American Express, Bank of America?
My credit card that I use?
No, this one in dispute, the one. Am I understanding there's one credit card that's?
No, Judge.
Okay, so let me ask Ms. Vanzant, how many credit cards are there out there that have debt?
I have no idea. I didn't handle financials.
All right, so Ms. Cross, anything else that you want to follow up with?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, any other follow-up questions to Ms. Vanzant?
Just one other question. Other than the washer and dryer, ma'am, what other items do you have in your possession that were put on credit cards that you have?
I don't understand the question.
Okay. There was a washer and dryer purchased on a credit card and you're in possession of that. What other items were purchased on credit cards that you're in possession of?
I don't have anything else but the washer and dryer.
So the only thing that you took from Georgia is a washer and dryer? That's your testimony?
Or my clothes or our daughter's clothes. I didn't take anything else.
Okay. All right. That's all I got, Judge, for her.
Okay, so you say the washer and dryer in storage, are they in storage in Georgia?
No, they're here in Texas where I'm at.
And I heard, I don't remember now if it was Ms. Cross or Mr. Anderson said, for example, there's a $2,400 debt on Best Buy. Do you have any idea what was purchased?
Yeah, it was probably his gaming stuff for his computer because I think we paid off the washer and dryer when we first got to Colorado. Shortly after, it should be completely already paid off.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Ms. Vanzant?
No, Your Honor.
No,
All right.
Judge.
All right, Ms. Cross, anybody else?
No, we'd rest.
All right, Mr. Anderson,
I would call Chris Vanzant, Judge.
you may proceed.
Can you state your name for the court?
Yes, it's Chris Vanzant.
Okay. And Mr. Vanzant, how are you employed, sir?
United States Air Force, active duty.
And you heard Ms. Cross talking about a deployment that's supposedly coming up. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you under orders right now?
I've been tasked for the deployment with an anticipated time of departure, but deployments get canceled sometimes they get moved. So as of right now, it's December 15th.
Okay. And has it already been tasked to go out earlier than December 15th?
There was a potential that I might leave earlier. They pulled 2 other people from the team. And as of right now, I'm still on task for December 15th.
Okay. So it's already been altered once since you've learned about this task, correct?
Yes, sir. A couple of times.
Okay. So there's a fair chance that it could get moved again, right?
Yes, sir. It is possible.
Or canceled even.
It's possible.
Okay. And sir, how often do you come and visit your children from Georgia here in Texas?
I typically try to take advantage of extended time off that they have from school. So summer was the last time that I got to see my kids. Obviously, during the holidays where they're out of school, I would try to work with Katie and Nicole and kind of figure out if Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever will kind of work, and we'll coordinate. And then I try to coordinate with both of them so that when I go down to Texas, I can kind of scoop them all up at the same time. And that way they can see each other as well. So that's important for me as well.
What about long weekend holidays in the month? Do you?
Typically I don't a whole lot, just because we're so far away. Obviously if I was closer, then I would like to take advantage of more opportunities to spend time with them for sure.
Okay. How long are you stationed in Georgia, sir?
I just PCS'd here and I graduated tech school in April, and I've been here since then.
Okay. And how often do you transition bases?
It depends, but typically CONUS assignments, which are continental United States, are 4 years, 4-year tours, and overseas. If I was to go overseas, I could be here for like 3 years.
Okay. Okay. Now, do you support your other children? Do you get them things, pay for things for them?
I do when I can, yes, sir. I reach out to their mom and help out when I can. With money being tight, I haven't been able to help as much as I would like to, but I do help out, and I have records to show that as well. Okay,
so just like before, you didn't have an order to support the child that you had with Katie, but you were sending money, correct?
Yes, sir. And the reason is because when I divorced, my first divorce, I had custody of the kids. And so the kids actually just moved with their mom this past summer in 2021. And I've raised the kids since then.
Okay. So there was a huge reason why you didn't have a support order, is because you were raising the children, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's talk about, I'm going to share my screen for just a minute. Hold 1 second. So can you see my screen, Mr. Vanzant?
I can, yes, sir.
Okay. And can you tell the court what this is?
This is the leave and earnings statement from April.
And is it fair and accurate?
No, sir. It's changed significantly since I've PCS to Georgia. I believe I sent the updated LESs.
Okay. So what has changed? But is this an accurate document?
It is an accurate document, yes,
It
sir.
hasn't been altered.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Judge, we'd offer R2 into evidence.
I have no objection to that being an April leave and earnings statement.
All right, so respondents two will be admitted as a document to show the April earnings.
Okay. When did you move to Georgia?
April, sir.
Okay. And so what has changed in this statement since you moved to Georgia?
I no longer receive family separation. That was for when I was TDY.
Okay.
And my BAH has significantly decreased.
Okay.
Because that is a Colorado BAH, and now I receive Georgia.
Okay. And what is the Georgia BAH?
If you give me 1 second, sir, I can take a look. Is there a way that I can like make this smaller? Oh, exit full screen. 1 second. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So my current base pay is $5,027.40, which should be the same. My BAS is $406.98. My BAH is now $1,491. And that's it.
Okay. And let's talk about your BAH for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the court what BAH is for?
It's a basic allowance for housing. It's
Okay.
used to help us secure housing when we move off base.
Okay. And so if you lived on base, you would not get that, correct?
It depends. If it's privatized housing, it'll look like I get it, and then it immediately gets taken by the privatized housing company. So it'll still appear on my LES, but it'll also appear as a deduction where it gets taken automatically.
Okay. And the reason for that is because you no longer can live on base. Is that correct?
As of right now, I do not live on base. That is correct, sir.
So the military, instead of paying your housing on base, just pays for it off base. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Same with the BAS. Is that for food?
It is, yes, sir. So base pay is like your typical pay, and BAS and BAH are allowances. They're not considered pay.
Okay. So
Yes,
if
sir.
you were to move on base, you would not have those, correct?
I'm not sure how BAS will be altered. I don't think it will be altered, but BAH will definitely change. Yes, sir.
So the base pay, that's the thing that's guaranteed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you have some credit card debt that you and Miss Vanzant acquired during the marriage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's we have a few credit cards as
And
well as
loans?
some loans. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's been marked Exhibit 3, okay? I'm going to scroll down, so just look at it and just make sure that it's fair and accurate, okay?
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, this is not an exhibit that we were provided in advance of today's hearing.
I'll let him testify for temporary orders.
Sir, did you see those pages?
I did, yes, sir.
1 through 29, were they fair and accurate as to the loans and credit card statements that you're talking about that you and Ms. Vanzant took out together?
Yes, sir. There's also a Wells Fargo that's on there and a Navy Federal Credit Union that you showed. Those two items are for my truck and my motorcycle, and I'm not asking those to be considered as something that Katie is responsible for helping for.
Okay, so those are fair and accurate statements though, correct?
They are, yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk through the page, but Judge, we asked to admit exhibit R3. in the
And I think just, and since Ms. Cross didn't get that, and so I can follow along, what are the different credit card companies that we're going to be looking at? Do you know, Vanzant or Mr. Anderson?
This is Omni Financial.
Okay. So I got Omni, what else?
This Wells Fargo Auto is not gonna be part of it.
All right,
That's correct.
The Navy Federal Credit Union is not going to be on it.
That is correct.
The Military Star Card will be.
all right,
The Lindmark Financial will be. The Keesler Federal Credit Union. That will be. ENT will be. Capital One will. And then Best Buy. And that's it.
all right. So you want to go through, so we're looking at either seven cards or seven debts.
Yes, sir.
Have Mr. Vanzant kind of go through and describe what those were used for and balances.
Yes, sir, Judge. Okay, let's start with Omni, Mr. Vanzant.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there was an original loan balance of $6,016.38. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm
Alright,
sorry,
what
what
was
was
that?
that balance? That's so,
Six-
I can't read it. It's so small. So,
It did say again, it was a loan of 6,000 and what?
$6,016.38.
okay.
And Mr. Vanzant, is it correct that this is a statement from August 6th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then it shows the payments that you've been making?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And here we have, as of July 31st, 2022, we have a remaining balance of what? Can you see it?
722. Yes, sir.
722.85, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So $722.
And 85 cents, Judge.
All right.
Now, this next one is your Wells Fargo Auto, so we're going to skip that. That's for your truck, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. You're not asking her to help you with that.
That is correct, sir.
Then this Navy Federal Credit Union, there's a $285.60 monthly payment. Is that for the motorcycle?
That is, yes, sir.
You're not asking her to help with that either, are you?
That is correct.
Now we have a Military Star Card. Actually, let me ask you this: that Omni credit card or loan,
Yes,
what
sir.
was that? What was that for?
The loan was back in 2020, and honestly, I don't remember.
Okay.
I could probably go back. Well, actually, I don't think I can. I'd have to go back and probably pull bank statements and look.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
remember off the top of my head.
All right. The Military Star Card. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And this is a date. It says payment date due September 14th, 2022. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
All right. And can you see what the balance is?
Yes, sir. $4,171.42.
Okay. And do you know what that's for?
So there's two separate lines of credit on there. One is for military clothing, which I do not expect Katie to help out for. And then the other one is for retail items that you could use at the base exchange.
Okay. And so,
It breaks it down by retail and clothing as the two lines of credit under there.
okay, so here on the third, on page 2 of 4, is that what you're talking about under interest charge calculations?
That's correct. You could see
Where's
that's the percentages there.
And then it says balance subject to interest rate.
That is correct. That's the balance of the retail side.
Okay.
Military clothing side is 0% interest.
And what is the balance subject to interest rate for military clothing?
So there's 0 for that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it was all for the exchange retail, correct?
There is a portion of the balance. If you look back on the previous page, you'll see there's a difference. It says 4,000 something there. And then if you go down to the next page, it says 30 something hundred. The reason that is because the military clothing is 0%. They don't charge interest for military clothing side.
Okay.
And so it says balance subject to interest rate $0. That's because it's not subject to interest, but there is a balance for the clothing side as well that totals up to that 4171.42 that you see.
Okay. So
If that makes sense.
yeah, so there's roughly about a $500 clothing charge that
Roughly, yes, sir.
that should be. So there's $500 worth of military clothing in that balance that you're saying, hey, I'm going to take. Is that correct?
Roughly, yes, sir.
All right. So you want her to help pay the 3,600. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or items, even if it's not the entire amount, if we need to break it down further, we can.
Then we have this Lindmark Financial.
Yes, sir.
And as of 8/20/22, that was the payment date. What was
Yes,
the
sir.
balance?
Does it say the previous balance? Is that what I'm looking
It
at?
says previous.
$5,127.25. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was that Lindmark Financial Services for?
That was a loan that we had gotten when we were in Colorado.
Okay. And what was that for?
I don't remember exactly what we used it for.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, sir.
A lot of these loans, did y'all use that to live off of while y'all were in Colorado?
So we procured items and stuff for the house, or various things, that we needed.
Are these just like payday type loans where you can go?
It's not a payday loan though, sir. It's
just small loans that you can just go out and buy or obtain?
yes, sir.
Okay. And that was during the marriage, correct?
That was, yes, sir.
Okay. This Keesler Federal Credit Union.
Yes, sir.
All right. There was a loan for the original loan looks to be $3,320.44. Is that correct?
I don't know if that was the original amount or what it currently is.
Oh no, that's the balance. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And if you look previous on the page, Katie's a joint owner for that account as well.
Okay. So,
It looks under. Yeah.
so $3,320.44, and that was during the marriage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And the origination of that loan was a quite a ways back, so I definitely don't remember what that was used for.
Okay. This ENT loan,
Yes, sir.
this was in Colorado as well.
Yes, sir.
All right. And do you see what the principal balance is?
Looks like 2890.03.
Okay, $2,890.03.
Yes, sir.
All right, and Katie's a joint owner on that as well?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
All right, and do you know what that was for?
Do not remember. No, sir.
Okay. All right, you see this Capital One statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much is the balance?
$4,380.67.
Okay, and was that credit card for purchases of during the marriage?
Yes, sir.
What was the purchases y'all did with that?
I don't remember anything specifically off the top of my head, but various things that we wanted or needed at the time.
Okay,
But I could, like I said, I could pull more detailed transaction histories and stuff if that is needed.
are you still using this card, sir?
I am not. No, sir.
So the platinum card ending in 3012, you do not use that.
That is correct.
When did you stop using it?
I don't know the exact stop date, but I haven't used it for at least a few months or so.
This Best Buy credit card,
Yes, sir.
can you see the balance on this?
Yes, $2,851 and looks like 8 cents.
Yes, sir. All right. What was purchased with that?
So this specifically, the Best Buy card, I will say, like I paid that off. And then when I got down to Keesler, I'd got some stuff because I was going to be there for 6 months. So I am not going to ask Katie to help with the Best Buy card
Okay. So
because those were items that were purchased specifically for me.
okay. So we need to take that one off, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then just the 722.85, right?
Yes, sir.
The 36.47.11,
Yes, sir.
the 51.27.25,
Yes, sir.
the 33.20.44, the 28.90.03, and the 43.80.67. That's it?
Yes, sir.
And would you agree with me that that comes out to $20,088.35?
Without a calculator in front of me, sir,
If I did it on a
Trust.
calculator and that's what it came out to be, would you agree that that was correct?
I trust that you calculated that correctly. Yes, sir.
All right. And so you're just asking her to help you pay for that temporarily. You're not paying big chunks, are you?
No, sir. I think since November, I've made over $12,000 in payments.
Okay. And are you just asking that she help with the minimum payments due until we can get to a final?
I'm willing to negotiate to what is fair. I just feel as though I got stuck with all of the debt, and it wasn't debt that I incurred alone. And Katie and I,
How much do you pay each month for these debts?
it's about $1,100 a month.
Okay. So
That's the minimum payments.
The minimum payment. So are you
Yes, sir.
asking that she reimburse you $550 each month for these debts?
I am not asking specifically for that. I'm just asking to split responsibility. So however that means, whether she assume debts, whether that be an option. Like I said, I don't want to specifically say how it has to go, because like I said, I'm willing to talk
I
about it.
understand. That's the judge's job, is
Yes,
to
sir.
decide how that goes. But you're just asking for some sort of credit for about $550. Is that correct?
And I'm just asking for some kind of help with the debt that we incurred together while we were married. Yes, sir.
I understand. And that's about $550 a month. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For half.
That is for half. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. All right. Pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Cross?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Vanzant, as a service member, you get a once a year clothing allowance, correct?
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am.
That's okay. And annually, how much is that clothing allowance that you get?
I think it's roughly around maybe like $400.
And you get that on the anniversary of your entry date?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that 400 or more that's given for the clothing allowance by the military each year to each service member goes to help offset that military clothing that you purchased on the Military Star Card, correct?
It can, yes, ma'am. So they give essentially $400 per year because they don't issue us clothing. We're required to purchase our own uniforms. But with me being in a combat unit and the things that I have to do, sometimes uniforms don't last as long as you would like. And so sometimes you have to procure stuff in the meantime.
Yes, sir. Well aware. You today have not produced any of the detail for these statements that show what purchases constitute those totals you testified to, correct?
I have not, I've provided them to my attorney's office, and that is all. That is correct.
Okay, but before the court today, the judge has no way of knowing how far back any of these debts went or what they were used for, correct?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you heard your wife's testimony earlier that you sometimes, what little free time you have, like to use gaming systems. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. Yes, ma'am.
So there might be some purchases for gaming systems.
The only purchase for a gaming system that I have would be one of two things. It would be the Oculus that I purchased on the Best Buy card, which I'm not asking Katie to pay for, or my gaming PC, which at the same time, I also purchased Katie computer equipment for her to do her job.
Okay.
With the same card.
All right. So Mr. Vanzant, your testimony was that some of these things are before, some of these things are after date of separation. And I don't recall that you had a very clear understanding of what these purchases were for. Is that correct?
Partially.
I think it's a yes or no, sir.
Okay, so to answer your question, then no, because the purchases that I am asking Katie to help with occurred during our time prior to the separation. I'm not asking Katie to help with anything that occurred after separation.
Mr. Vanzant, you'd agree that you've got a lot of debt here. You've got $20,000 of debt.
I agree that Katie and I have $20,000 in debt. Yes.
And that you don't remember the purchases that you used for the debt. Your wife testified that you handled the finances, right?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct, because she didn't want to.
Okay. Is there also a concern that maybe you haven't made the best use of your finances?
I have
Jackson overrule.
Does that mean I need to answer? I don't know.
You
If
can
that
go
makes
ahead you can go ahead and answer.
No, I'm happy to answer. I'll be honest with you. I have not always made the best financial decisions. That is correct.
Okay. Do you have a gambling problem, Mr. Vanzant?
I did have a gambling problem at one point in time. Yes, ma'am. I do
Okay.
not, I no longer do. No, ma'am.
And has that led to some of this debt coming into the picture?
It's led to some bad situations, but it has not the debt specifically.
All right, pass the witness.
Let me ask a few questions, then Mr. Anderson can follow up. So Mr. Vanzant, do you have a credit card that you use now?
I currently, I just did the Dave Ramsey course not that long ago because I'm trying to be debt free and I haven't used a credit card since the course.
Okay. So just right now, the only credit cards in your name that you're asking for reimbursement is the Omni card, Star card, Lindmark Financial, Kessler Federal, ENT, and Capital One?
That sounds correct. Yes, sir. But not the Best Buy. Did you say Best Buy, sir?
Did not say Best Buy. I took that
Okay.
one. So
Yes, sir.
I asked you the same question I asked Ms. Vanzant. So if you go buy gas, eat at a restaurant, all of that is cash now?
I use my checking account. Yes, sir. If I don't have the money, I don't do it.
Okay. And now, do you have the documents to show what these loans were originally for? Like on the Omni, there's a $6,000 loan. Do you have that somewhere?
What I would have to do is pull checking account information to associate, because with the loans, they deposit it into your checking. So I would have to go back that far, sir.
All right. And so your attorney said that your monthly net is about $4,000 and your wife's attorney said your monthly net is about $7,000. So do you know where this $3,000 difference is?
I do, yes, sir.
All right, where do you think it is?
So the reduction in BAH that occurred when I moved to Georgia. I don't get family SEP anymore. That was for when I was TDY. So, and then also I altered my taxes now to where I claim 0 since I'm not going to have any dependents to claim on my taxes. And so I pay higher taxes now as well. So my net after taxes and all that stuff is much higher than it used to, or my net is lower than it used to be as a result of those changes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we heard that the housing allowance that's different is about $1,500.
That is
How
correct.
how much is that family separation? What did you get that you're not getting now?
It was $250 a month, sir.
Okay, so that's about $1,700. So you've given a explanation of about half the difference. So do you know where about the other $1,500?
I think they were considering gross income as well.
Well, let me just tell you the testimony or what the attorneys represented is your attorney represented that your monthly net. So yes, we're just looking at net was $4,098. And your wife's attorney said your monthly net is $7,114. So again, about $3,000 difference. And you've said one of the issues is that reduction in your housing of $1,500. And then family separation $250. So that's about $1,700 difference. So there's still about another $1,500 or so dollars to be explained. And do you know of where the difference would be?
And
So-
Your Honor, perhaps I could assist with that. I don't wish to interrupt the proceeding or your train of questioning, but Mr. Anderson was kind enough to give me the calculation sheet that he used. And it's a
I can share
website
the screen.
version. It's your exhibit 1, I believe. And on the exhibit 1, the only income that's shown on exhibit 1 is the base pay The OAG's sheets are confusing for the military calculation. Every time I teach seminars to the OAG's office, they have difficulty figuring out where the entitlements go. I think Mr. Vanzant is aware that when he says that his BAS and BAH are not income, they're not taxed. They're non-taxable entitlements. And so the only thing that is taxed is the base pay. In Mr. Anderson's R1, you'll see the 4969.50, which is the gross pay that Mr. Vanzant testified to of 5,027.40 minus the taxes. Then when you add back in the 406.98, which is the BAS, and the 1491 BAH for Georgia, I believe the total would be 6,187.63. So I think, I hope that helps make a little clearer why there is a difference. Part of it is that we didn't have a leave and earning statement reflecting his current situation.
Okay, well, and let me just follow up with Ms. Cross, and then Mr. Anderson can ask his client questions. So if can you explain the difference between, again, what Mr. Anderson said, a net of 4,098, and now, if I understand what you're saying, is now your monthly net would be 6,187. So again, there's still about $2,000 difference.
And that's a question for Mr. Vanzant.
Okay,
For
but
myself.
well, and I realize we'll ask him the question, but do you Ms. Cross, do you know where your numbers are that?
If you look at R1, the 4969.50 is only the gross pay minus the taxes. The entitlements are not factored in. And they come in as 406.98 and 1491 per Mr. Vanzant's testimony. They are not taxed. They're non-tax entities. And Mr. Vanzant testified that the BAH is set by Congress based on a geographical location. So for example, the BAH in San Diego, where the cost of living is high, is about $4,000. In Alaska, it's higher because the cost of living is higher. The cost of living in Georgia is lower. So the BAH in Georgia of 1491 is something that's set by statute. It's publicly available. It's published data on the DFAST website. So when you add the 406.98 and the 1491, that explains the difference between the 49.68 and the 61.87. We actually gave him a little bit more net than Mr. Anderson's did.
Okay, so is Ms. Cross, you're saying the main difference is just the housing allowance, that you're including the housing allowance and Mr. Anderson is not?
Housing and the meal allowance. I believe the family code allows for that additional factor of housing to be included. If it were not included in the pay, it would be part of Mr. Vanzant's base payment, his base rate, and the military can't account for the variation in geographical costs when they assign service members to different locations around the world in any other way other than to do it by the housing allowance. So yes, it goes in one hand, goes out the other. The same thing would be true if he received that $1,491 as part of his salary. He'd be paying his housing the same way.
All right, so Mr. Anderson, do you want to have follow-up questions?
I don't believe I have any follow-up questions for Mr. Vanzant.
Okay, all right, so, and if I'm following, so Mr. Anderson, you want the child support to be based on gross pay and not include housing and meal, and Ms. Cross, you want it to be gross pay plus housing and meal. Is that about right?
Actually, net pay
But
plus
net.
housing. and-
That's right. I'm sorry. I meant that.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yes, but
Go ahead. Mr. Anderson, I heard a but, so go ahead. You said yes,
No.
but.
yes, the net. Yes, Judge.
Okay, so, well, I'm just trying to find out what the difference is. So,
Well, Judge, I think our argument too is like he has no control whether or not he gets to stay on base or not. That's why they give those allowances, because there's only so much room on a base and they have to account for thousands of people that live on these bases. So they send the people that have been there a while off post and give them an allowance to take care of that expense, because when you join the military and you're in the military, one of the perks of being in the military is it's free housing and free clothing allowances and free, they take care of your food, your housing, and your clothing, which is why the amount you make each month isn't the highest. And so we don't believe it should be factored into child support, because he's being forced to live outside the base, and that's the military taking care of the housing allowance.
okay, so again, just so I can follow both sides, arguments, again, Miss Cross, you're getting the net pay plus housing plus meals to be the net. And Mr. Anderson, you want it to be just the net pay, not including housing and meals.
That is correct. Yes.
And then I guess we need a little bit more testimony now about the travel. Payment for travel. Mr. Anderson, how are you proposing deductions be made for long distance travel?
Mr. Vanzant, can you unmute yourself, sir?
Yes.
Sir, how do you normally travel when you come to Texas?
Primarily, I drive so that I can get all three of my kids.
Okay. And do you have to stay in a hotel?
I do, yes.
Okay. And how many hotel rooms do you have to get with when you have three kids? And is it just yourself?
It is. It's me and my three kids, and usually I just get a double bed room.
Okay. All right. And roughly how much do you think you spend each time you travel?
Last time I went there, it cost me $1,000.
Okay. And so if you were to do that once a month on a long weekend, let's say, or even every other month, that would cost you roughly $1,000 a month or $6,000 for half the year.
If I was to make that travel, yes, sir.
Okay. And if you come on holidays, Thanksgiving, and the holiday week it's a week long. You understand that?
Yes.
It's gonna be more than $1,000. Is that correct?
If I was to stay in Texas, then yes. I mean,
Okay.
it was $1,000 one way between all the gas and the hotels and the food and everything for everybody. That's correct.
Okay. So if you stayed in Texas for the week of Thanksgiving, that would be very costly, correct?
That's correct.
And it'd be well over $1,000, would it not?
It would.
So are you asking that the court give you a break for those expenses?
I'm asking for some sort of help with travel arrangements, however the court deems necessary.
Okay. You're currently paying $600 a month. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is that a comfortable number for you?
It's tight, but it's okay.
Okay. And so if the court was to have you pay $600 a month and then have her pay a credit card or two, would that be sufficient?
It would, anything would help at this point.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Ms. Cross?
Thank you. Mr. Benzet, since the time that you said that the children went back to live with their mother, I think you said that was summer of 21, is that correct?
That is correct.
How many days have you physically spent with your children?
I spent with the summer with them this past summer. And then before that, I wasn't able to because I was in technical training.
Okay. So one time since last summer then?
I saw my two oldest kids over Christmas break as well. And Emma stayed with Katie over Christmas.
Have you requested leave for Thanksgiving this year?
For Thanksgiving this year,
Yes, sir.
I have not requested leave for Thanksgiving as of yet. Doesn't mean that I won't.
Okay. No further questions of this witness.
And now, and Mr. Vanzant, do any of your daughters ever fly to Georgia to see you?
Primarily, I drive, but I mean, I could fly them out if for some reason I didn't feel like making the drive.
But have you ever done that since you've been in Georgia?
Since I've been in Georgia, I haven't flown them. No, sir. I've only driven.
Any other questions for Mr. Vanzant?
Just briefly, Judge. Mr. Vanzant, is it a little difficult to coordinate with two different females, flight itineraries and making sure, is it more difficult for them and for you to get that coordinated?
It's not the easiest, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Is that why you drive though?
I think driving gives me a little more flexibility, for sure.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay, Mrs. Cross, any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, and Mr. Anderson, anything else?
That's it, Judge.
All right, so Ms. Cross, you want to give a closing?
Yes, sir. It appears from both the agreement and then the subsequent testimony that the parties have been able to work out some of the issues and admirably for the benefit of the child. And so we're able to reach the agreements they were in that regard. I think it was also clear that given the large amount of debt and the lack of detail on that debt, that my client was surprised and unprepared and perhaps a little frustrated with the amount of debt that's been accumulated. Certainly sometimes finances can be the straw that breaks the camel's back in a marriage. So my client has simply asked that the child support be calculated according to guidelines with the resources that Mr. Vanzant receives, and that the parties each be responsible for their debts.
All right, Mr. Anderson.
Sorry, Judge, I'm not used to this whole muting thing. There's one thing that I feel like we can agree on, and that's the parties have worked wonderfully together to try and come up with a possession and access schedule that works best for them. And I hope they continue that. The issue is there's no evidence that Ms. Cross provided that contradicts anything that we put into evidence. We're just asking that the court keep the status quo. Mr. Vanzant's been paying, $600 a month to Miss Vanzant. We're asking that it stay that amount to give him a break for travel, since he's going to be the one that has to travel to Texas to see the child or to fly the child out. There's a lot of debt. There's $20,000 in debt and $88.35. Mr. Vanzant was the one that neither one of them knew what the debt was. Really, they both knew that it was during the marriage. Miss Vanzant didn't want to partake in financial responsibility. However, she knew about all the credit cards because she was a part of it. She's on a couple of them even. And when Mr. Vanzant was asked about these credit cards, he said, no, that one I don't want her to pay for because that was solely on me. The only ones I want her to help out with is the ones that she had a benefit to. He has no reason to lie about that. He didn't lie today. He's telling the truth. He took responsibility for the ones that are solely his, and for the other ones, he just wants help with, because that was a joint deal that they did together. Regardless if now she wants to step back and say, oh, I had no part in that. Well, she doesn't want to pay for it. That's the problem. Mr. Vanzant's been footing the bill since she left in November. All he's asking for is a little help. Yeah, they didn't get a lot of assets during the marriage. They got a lot of debt. It's unfortunate, but it's got to be paid for. And it needs to be paid for by both. So, Judge, we're just asking that you keep the $600 a month and she pay for a couple of the credit cards, and he'll pay for the rest. That's what we're asking, Judge. Thanks.
Mr. Cross, anything else?
No, Your Honor, we'd close.
All right. Well, and see, Ms. Cross, you are representing petitioner, so have you drawn up the temporary orders? How much time will you need?
If the court permitted 2 weeks to get it to Mr. Anderson.
So how about, so 2 weeks to get it to him, and then he can look at that, and let me look at the date here. How about with an entry on October 17th? Would that about work?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Ms. Cross will have you prepare the temporary orders by October 10th, get the draft to Mr. Anderson, and then two of you can work on that and have an entry on October 17th. Now, I know on October 17th, I'm going to be picking a jury. So if that is just an entry, an agreed entry, I'll sign it. If we need to come back and have a hearing, we're probably gonna have to look at either a specific time or a specific date to work around that. All right, so I will approve the orders that were agreed upon. The parties will be named as the joint managing conservators of Emma. Ms. Vanzant will have the right to designate the residents with a restriction of Austin County and contiguous counties. Ms. Vanzant will have the exclusive rights to medical, psychological, and counseling decisions over Emma via standard possession order. Mr. Vanzant will have electronic access through FaceTime to Emma between 8 and 8:30 Central Time. And I didn't make a note. Is that every day, Ms. Cross?
Yes,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Okay. So then Ms. Vanzant, you're ordered to have Emma available for a FaceTime call between 8 and 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And Mr. Vanzant, if you know ahead of time that you're not going to be able to, you'll just be ordered to text Ms. Vanzant and let her know that you cannot make that call. Each parties will have possession of the motor vehicles that they have in their possession. Mr. Vanzant ordered to maintain insurance on Emma. Right, so Mr. Vanzant to be ordered to pay $800 a month child support beginning October 1st. And as as far as some of these cards, between now and the entry date, have Mr. Vanzant provide the documents that would show the loan amount. So I'm going to go through these cards. As I understand, the Omni card, there's an original loan of $6,016. So by October 7th, if you can, or you'll be ordered to produce the what that loan was for, the original loan document, the origination of that $6,000 loan, get that to Miss Vanzant. Lindmark Financial, $5,127 loan. Kessler Federal, $3,320 loan. ENT, $2,890 loan. And so, we're going to have to, if the parties can't come to, an agreement as far as the minimums on those, we may have to revisit those. For now, Mr. Vanzant will be ordered to make the minimum payments on those cards, Omni, Lindmark Federal, Kessler, ENT, and then after the origination of those loans is produced, then we'll decide whether or not Ms. Vanzant will be responsible for those minimum payments. As far as the Star card, the retail amount of $3,600 and the Capital One that ends in 3012 with an amount of about $4,300. Ms. Vanzant, we ordered to reimburse Mr. Vanzant for whatever the minimum monthly payment is on those two cards. And so, Mr. Vanzant, you're to get those statements to her to show what those charges were and what the minimum amount is. And so that reimbursement will also start up October 1st. And, for now, there won't be any reimbursement for travel. All right, Ms. Cross, anything else?
Just a clarification, I realize Mr. Vanzant testified that he's making strides to reduce the debt. But the reimbursement from my client to Mr. Vanzant on the Military Star and the Capital One, that's only on the outstanding amounts, not current purchase, ongoing future purchases.
Yes, that's correct. And one thing I should have ordered as far as any of these cards, the testimony was that nobody is using credit cards now. So the order will be that neither party will make any new charges on the Omni, Star Card, Lindmark Financial, Kessler, ENT, or Capital One. So yes, there'll be no new charges. The only reimbursement that Ms. Vanzant will make on those two for now is the minimum payment with no new charges. And again, after we look at what those loans were initially for, that may be adjusted. But again, the parties are ordered not to make any new charges on any of those cards. If they have their own credit card, they'll be responsible for any charges that they make.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Judge, just so the court's aware, in my R3 that I asked to be admitted earlier, the Star card, the Military Star card that the court was talking about a minute ago, as of the payment due date, September 14th, 2022, the minimum payment due was $100.48.
And now, is that just on the retail end of it, or is that the total? Mr. Vanzant said part of this was his clothing allowance, that he was not going to ask for reimbursement, and the other was retail charges.
It says further down in here, calculated minimum payment due 138.03. I don't know. It doesn't break it down real well.
All right. And what did it show the minimum charge, minimum payment on the Capital One?
Here, you want me to share my screen, Judge?
Sure.
So here's that military star card where it says $100.48. And then right here, it says calculated minimum payment due 138.03. So I imagine that's just for the 36, this 3647.11 exchange retail, because that's what can get charged in interest rate would be my guess, Judge.
All right. And so, and what do you show the minimum charge on the Capital One?
The minimum is 141.
All right. So then just say starting October 1st, Ms. Vanzant is to reimburse $130 for payment on those two cards, the Star Card and the Capital One. And Mr. Vanzant is ordered to produce the documents to support the origination of the loan on the other charges, and then we might have to revisit that.
And Judge, what was that amount again?
$130 for reimbursement for the minimum.
So she's only going to pay half of those two cards?
Half of the minimum.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I had it mixed up earlier whenever you did the rendition. I thought she was supposed to reimburse the minimum monthly due on both of those. So
she'll reimburse half of the minimum on those two cards, on the Star Card and the Capital One. And then again, Mr. Vanzant is going to produce the supporting documents for the loan on the Omni Card, Lindmark Financial, Keesler Federal, and ENT. And after those documents are produced, the attorneys can talk and see if that was some type of a community debt or something else, or what.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So anything else, Mr. Anderson?
Not from me, Judge.
And Ms. Cross?
No, sir, I believe that covers everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're all excused.